All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going in again on the March for Australia, but more specifically, the immigration problem in Australia. So we have a clip here from the Daily Mail Australia, and then we're going to move on to Australia trying to bring back ISIS brides from overseas to be funded for life, specifically on the taxpayer purse. So we've got a couple of rants coming in. All right, let's get stuck into it.
Violent protests calling for the national migrant intake to be curbed have failed to make an impact.
Now, I'm going to stop it here and there, but this to me, I wouldn't say I'm overly a patriotic person. I love living in the country, but for me to see that burning the flag, desecrating it, and it goes unchallenged. No one's saying anything about it. They're not getting these guys just like they got that dude who had the Desi Freeman poster. You know, they put a search hunt out for that guy. He had to hand himself into a police station and get prosecuted. But these people using the flag to demonstrate their hate for the country and burning it, that's all right. Don't worry about it. No worries. Let's not even talk about that at all.
As key immigration figures reveal, Australia's migration numbers will remain at current levels. The permanent migration program intake for 2025-26 will be set at 185,000 people, the same as the previous financial year. The announcement of the intake level...
Even 185,000 people, in my opinion. Well, it's like, no, it's gone down because it's not 600,000 and it's not 480,000. It's now 180. Like, how about making it 10,000? 0. How about we just stop just for a couple of years? Because this is dividing. It's a very divisive thing, and people are getting very upset about it, and rightfully so. Like, life is tough for a lot of people in Australia at the moment, especially the working class. And they're bringing in a whole bunch of migrants, especially to the major metro areas across the country, who are going to be competing for those jobs. You can say, well, don't be a bogan, they're not going to take your job. They're not making more jobs. It's the same amount of jobs with more people. And there's nothing racist about saying that. And then what happens, and it puts upward pressure on rental prices, or at the very least, it makes it very difficult for a person to secure a rental, even if they can afford it, the prices that are happening at the moment, and that are going to be the new normal. But the pure volume of people going to rental inspections. I saw it recently. I've talked about this in my last sort of couple of videos where I've touched on property. House across the street from me, it was an old, for rent, it was a unit in one of those old unit blocks. You know, they got those eight brick units, red brick units, and on one of those large sort of triple blocks, the old school ones. It's a decent sized unit for rent for $620 a week, which to me is mind blowing. It was pretty small. It was nice. They'd done it up, but it was small. So $620 a week. That isn't what I'm trying to get at here. There are about 50 couples lined up out the front. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on here? I looked out the window. I saw these people lining up, and it was a Monday night. It was a Monday night. And people are out trying to get a place, and there's just a line snaking up around the corner.
Follows anti-immigration rallies attended by thousands of protesters in capital cities
I think it was more hundreds of thousands.
Across Australia on Sunday.
We need the people to stand up. Believe in an honest Australia. We don't have honest Australia, there's nothing left. Nothing left to fight for.
Protesters at the March for Australia rallies on Sunday argue that mass immigration is driving up housing costs, putting pressure on hospitals and schools, as well as threatening jobs. But the Albanese...
I love it how they say they argue. I mean, how does more people relying on and utilising a system that's already buckling not put pressure on it? They say they allege. How does it not? I've had people in the comments saying, no, G-Man, immigration's got nothing to do with housing availability. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They've got to live somewhere. I don't feel bad for a lot of these immigrants coming in, sold the dream, probably spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, whatever it is, to get over here. And they're out here fighting tooth and nail against the locals as well. We're starting to get more disgruntled at them for being competition for property and for jobs. And I have heard this on the grapevine, that you do have a lot of places now, especially IT departments in businesses that are run by Indian migrants, and they only hire other Indian migrants. So disregard other Australians. So you tell me. And you can say that's right. That is a truth. I've been told it. I've read about it. So there you go. I'm not going to go at Indians. I'm just saying that is what is happening here. Nah, it's got nothing to do with it, G-Man. Nah, you're a bogan.
The government and critics of the demonstrations claim that they're being fueled by racism, as well as being influenced by the far right.
Are you racist?
Yes.
And you're proud to be racist?
Yes, of course. Put our race first.
Concerns have only grown after neo-Nazi figures gave speeches at both the Sydney and Melbourne rallies.
That's the thing. So I was talking about this leading up to these particular protests. And I said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get these dickheads, because that's what they are. You get these dickheads, attention-seeking, people out there who are going to grandstand and say outrageous things and do outrageous things. And that's what's going to be picked up by the media here, that it's you got 100,000 people or whatever the number is marching around. We're hating migrants who are already living in Australia and hating people. Hating immigrants based on their race. Hating immigrants at all. It isn't about hate. So you get these people, they've latched straight onto that. That is an absolute gift that they've given to the Labor government, who are running with that, and the media. They're running with it, and a lot of leftist leaning bleeding hearts as well, shunning Australians for marching. Go and read Reddit. Go and read the Australian or Aussie subreddits. Sometimes I read those to get a feel for just how plugged in people are to the media and how much they just eat it all up. Anyone who went to those rallies, or whatever you want to call them, marches, get-togethers, protests, is a bad person, is a racist, is a bogan, is uneducated, has been influenced by far-right racist groups. It's a bit worrying. It's a bit worrying. The people, they watch the news, they watch, and they just take it as gospel.
Migration has become one of the biggest political issues in Australia at the moment. People are angry because services aren't keeping up with the huge numbers of people coming into the country. Housing's a mess, commutes are longer, and governments tell us that all is just fine. But it isn't. Not like this. And to hear from these protesters, the government doesn't seem to care. Migration has made Australia richer, more dynamic and more interesting. We need it with birth rates falling. The ageing of the population won't fund itself. But the pace and the mix with bottlenecks on services is where the politics gets explosive.
That's it. Albo's not getting the train, and Penny Wong's not getting the train, and all these people that are pushing for it. But all it is, it's about us generating revenue. Let's cut back all the BS. Let's cut all that back. The country's broke. Victoria's broke. If we want to talk specifically about a particular state, they need them coming in. We need the tax revenue to keep the Ponzi going. Keep it going. Keep the pyramid scheme going. Get more people and more people and more people. Just keep throwing them in. Yeah, the economy is going well. GDP is going well. It's because you've imported a large portion of the country in the last 10 years. And that's the forecast as well. I know I'm sort of ranting here a bit, but that's why you're here. There was forecast. You can look it up. You just Google it. You can say, what is the population expectation for Victoria in 2050? So 25 years. So it's currently 5.2, 5.3 as of the time of that information was posted. They're saying it's going to be 9 to 10 million. Doubled in 25 years. Now, what is this joint going to look like in 25 years with double the people? Got to be joking. Joint's basket case already.
Question isn't migration yes or no. It's how much, how fast, and are we building the capacity to match the growth? Australia's net overseas migration hit truly historic levels after the COVID pandemic, with around 500,000 people added in just 1 year alone, the highest on record. That surge was driven overwhelmingly by temporary visas, especially student visas. The government says that the numbers are moderating. The budget penciled in net overseas migration falling to about 260,000 in 2024-25 and lower again after that. But revisions and mid-year updates showed that the numbers have been fluid at best. Home vacancies are wafer thin. National rental vacancies have hovered near 1% this year. Affordability is the worst on record. That's what tenants...
I'm not seeing any extremists here. No, everyone's there full of hate. They're running around with baseball bats and cricket bats trying to bash up Indians and Chinese people, African people. That's what the punters will have you thinking, that the kind of people that are turning up are the unscrupulous kind, just everyday people went. This wasn't, if you really think about what this is and was, it isn't so much the way that they're framing it in the media is it's an anyone who's not white rally, really. That's how they're framing it. Let's cut it all back. That's how they're positioning it. All it was a government protest. And this is why they're coming down so hard on it. They're gonna make this sort of thing an act of terrorism. I read somewhere something along the lines of that. They're going to make those far right wingers dressed in black. That's right. They're gonna call that domestic terrorism, and it'll be they'll be treated as such. But not what about all the people burning the flag and doing that? Is that not okay? Is that terrorism? I don't know. I said I don't support that group at all. By the way, I think it is horrendous. They've completely undermined the whole thing. We knew it was going to happen.
Feel every Saturday when they line up at home opens. Then there's congestion. Traffic indexes show Australian capital cities are grinding along. Sydney's average speed barely nudges a crawl in the cities. It's not just annoying, it's a handbrake on productivity. The Federal Infrastructure Blueprint bluntly warns that congestion costs are set to balloon without investment that actually matches population growth. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Migration juiced up headline GDP, the crucial figure that shows that the Australian economy overall is growing. But GDP per person has gone backwards for years now, causing what's called a per capita recession over most of the last 3 years.
The Joint's a basket case. They can say, economy's fine, inflation's coming down, unemployment is low. I'd love to see where they're getting those numbers from. I know I'm going to people in the comments say, no, you're a bogan, they're from the ABS and blah, 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 but they use certain metrics and capture certain criteria to generate these numbers. So if you work 1 hour a week, you may be captured as employed. There are a lot of people unemployed at the moment. Victoria's a basket case. A lot of redundancies. Look at the news. ANZ's cutting. They're going nuts. They're cutting thousands. Telstra have cut thousands. Commonwealth Bank have cut thousands. All the big banks have cut thousands. You don't hear a lot about it in the media. Atlassian. Small businesses cutting people. It's very difficult to get a job out there for everybody.
That's how you can have growth while people feel poorer, because they are. And productivity, the real driver of living standards, has been anemic at best. Labor promised more than 1 million new homes, but we don't have enough tradies to deliver it. The biggest arrivals are international students, not people with the skills to help build the houses and infrastructure we need. That's a policy disconnect Canberra is responsible for. So when people say immigration isn't adding to the supply of the trades we need, that's not anti-immigration. It's a criticism with the way the politicians are managing the issue. We tilted the intake towards students and away from the skills that we're so short of: bricklayers, sparkies, plumbers and carpenters. And
we're going to bring in students to prop up their university industrial complex and charge them an absolute arm and a leg. And when I went through university, you guys put in the comments, now this isn't a racial comment. Like a lot of them that I went to university with, they didn't even try. The local students are carrying them. Come on, put in the comments if you ever did a group assignment. Say you did a business degree. Did you ever did a group assignment and you got put with all the internationals? You had like 3 of them in your group. You do the whole thing yourself. Because you want to achieve and get a good mark, you just do all their work for them because they're going to bring your way down. Somehow they get through, they're paying for degrees. Paying for qualifications. To pass the qualification. It's a big business. Big business.
Then we wonder why housing targets just aren't being met. The government has had to scramble and put key trades back on priority occupation lists. They should have been there in the first place. The government tried to legislate caps on international student enrolments before the last election. The Senate was set to reject it, so they pivoted to administrative limits, crackdowns on dodgy providers, as well as higher fees. In July last year, the student visa fee more than doubled, from $710 to $1,600. Now they're proposing another $400 hike, having been re-elected. But is it really a deterrent or just another reason that the Treasury boffins like sky-high student migration? Forecasts suggest that immigration should trend down from the record peak, depending on how the rules are enforced and what universities, employers and the market do in response. But on the ground, pressure points to housing and infrastructure as lagging well behind the government's policy signals. And that gap is the political problem. Without immigration, the budget would be in worse shape than it already is. Our fertility rate is at a record low. Fewer workers supporting...
Why is the fertility rate at a record low? People can't afford to have kids, or they're worried about trying to get set up in life, getting a bit of money behind them before they do it, and it takes longer to do that. Plus, you're bringing them into this basket case of a country. People are just going, you know what? It's tough enough here for us. I don't want to bring a kid into it, into this world. How about we fix the issues at home? How about we do that? Then I think your birth rate will keep going up. Because you need the taxpayers. Why don't we do some locally grown taxpayers? No, let's just bring them in. Making the problem worse and making less people have kids, and they bring more people in again. It's compounding.
More retirees is not a pathway to lower taxes and better services. And many international students stay, upskill and join the workforce, paying taxes as they go. Done well, that's a good thing. That's why the protests aren't really about whether migration is good or bad. They reflect community frustration with the way governments have managed immigration policies. Planning, housing and infrastructure haven't kept up with the surge in numbers. If politicians keep pretending population growth is a free lunch while ignoring the queues, the rent hikes, the road congestion, anger fills the gap. That's how you get mass protests in a country that normally has a she'll be right attitude. So migration is both...
This has been bubbling for a while. It's been bubbling for a while. There are a lot of you who watch my videos who be thinking the exact same way I do, which is frustrated. You're not a racist. You don't hate people. You're just frustrated with the state of what is happening. But this is a global problem. So there'll be many people around the world feeling the same way. But people are angry, life's getting harder, the value of the dollar is just eroding. Right? Wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, not even coming close, cost of housing, all that sort of stuff, all your utilities. People are mad. And why are you bringing in all these people to make it harder? Anyway, let's move on to the next one. We're going to quickly talk about this, ISIS brides and Pauline Hanson. I used to actually be influenced by the media to think that Pauline Hanson was a bit of a crackpot. I dare say. So I owe her an apology. I can tell you that much. I think Pauline's speaking for a silent majority at the moment, and that silent majority is starting to make noise too.
Let's bring in One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson now. Senator, good to see you. Let's start with these ISIS brides. Do you buy this argument that Labor's not involved in the mission to bring them home?
Not one bit, Danica. What an absolutely farce that is. He couldn't even answer the question. No, I'm going to say my comments, don't know anything about it. Usually if you have nothing to do with it, you'd actually have more to say. He shut it down. He doesn't want to answer any more questions. I don't believe it. Danica, I don't care. I don't want them here. I've got no time for them whatsoever. I don't want their offspring. And the youngest one at 5 years of age, then I asked the question, they are not an Australian citizen. They were born overseas because they started bringing them back in 2019. I think this is the third lot they're bringing in. So at 5 years of age, I don't believe that we should be actually taking them. They're not Australian.
That's the thing, right? And so we got a lot of bleeding hearts saying, take him in, it's just a little kid, the ISIS bride as well, blah, blah, blah. Well, taxpayers are going to be paying for that because they're not going to go and get gainful employment. That child is going to be raised, likely with the mother, pushing all those ideologies into his head. And he's going to grow up hating the West and hating Australia. And then we got another negative contributing person to our society. And we're paying for it. Why is this a good idea? Why do we do this? Why is our country so hell-bent on being bleeding hearts and letting in high-threat people? Let's bring in the terrorist brides of terrorists and children of terrorists.
Australian citizens if they're born overseas. And these people, they're going to be on the public taxpayer-funded purse for the rest of their lives. These women completely wear the burqa or the full burqa. They won't get employment if they don't have the husbands to provide for them, so the taxpayer will have to. They are bringing their hate. These people are martyrs who will die for the cause and their beliefs. I've been speaking strongly about this for years and years and years, and especially in my maiden speech when I got back into the Parliament 2016. It concerns me greatly. And if you look at what's happened in England, Birmingham, 30% of Muslims there, and they're taking over the councils. You've got, Sharia law courts. They're losing their identity, their culture in England, and the same damn thing is going to happen here.
Oh, it is going to happen. There's no stopping it. People like Pauline Hanson, as I said, they're made fun of. They're made to look like extremists. As I said, I was guilty of that. I thought, gee, I settled down, Karen. But the more you hear her, listen to her talk, and the more that the world's going exactly the way she said it was, how can you ignore someone? And someone who is as passionate for Australia as what she is. In my opinion, these other politicians, I'm not going to name names, it seems as though they're against doing what's right for this particular country and do the opposite, and for the people currently living here. Do you want to pay for funding the life of an ISIS bride and child? I don't. I don't care if that sounds racist. I don't want to pay for it. I don't want them here because at the end of the day, very high chance. There's going to be no assimilation or anything like that. So you're just bringing in a future problem or a current problem.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just go over there in the name of ISIS on some sort of romantic jihadi getaway and then decide that you want to come back. Sorry, it's not how it works. It doesn't fit with our value system. I completely agree. Now, look, I'll speak with Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price shortly about National Flag Day. She was ordered to remove the Aussie flag, which was draped over her shoulders. And you were too today. Let's have a look.
Senator Hanson, I remind you of the ruling the Deputy President arrived at today, which I have upheld, which is no flags to be worn in the chamber until the matter has been resolved by...
Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Why is Australia so against people being patriotic and waving the flag around? But there can be a million Palestinian flags out in the street. That's all right. But you can't have an Australian flag. You're a bogan. You're racist. It's seen as being offensive. I find it truly bizarre. And now they're being told they can't represent the country by having the flag in Parliament and told to remove it because it's offensive. Greens are crackpots. All you Labor and Green voters out there, you voted for this. And you're still going to vote again for him.
Procedures Committee, so I'd ask you to take the flag off.
Senator, why is the Senate so afraid of the Aussie flag?
Afraid of this. That's what they're afraid of, Danica. And you know what? It flies on top of the building, it flies in the chamber, and it was the Greens that raised the issue about saying you shouldn't be wearing the flag. And they said, oh, it's a prop. It's not a prop. They wear the kaffir every time in the Parliament. No one says anything about it. The President says nothing about it. And it disgusts me that this was raised by the Deputy President, who is actually Liberal, and he raised it and made the decision not to wear it. It is absolutely appalling. And then the Green Senator, McKim, gets up and says, well, if you allow the Australian flag to be worn in this chamber, then I'm going to wear the Palestinian flag. This is how, this is what our country has come to. I'm so angry about this and I'm so upset by this. The people that on the weekend that walked with pride carrying the Australian flag, we are elected members of Parliament for the Australian people under the Australian flag that people have fought and died for. And we are told we can't display it in our Parliament on the one special day, which is our Australian Flag Day. And that's how gutless these people are. I put it to the vote that it should be, able to be worn in the Parliament just before I came up to here. And guess what? 22 people supported it. All of Labor, all of the Greens, and Senator Fatima Payman voted against it being able to be worn on the floor of Parliament. Jackie Lambic, Pocock and Tammy Tyrrell, I didn't see them at all on the floor of Parliament to vote on such an important issue. It turns my stomach and makes me so mad. And I'll warn people out there, you keep voting for these bastards that actually don't have pride in our country and our Australian flag, then be prepared to get what we're going to get. And we've seen it now with the division that is happening, the hatred we see on the streets, the escalating crime, and that's only going to escalate even further unless we take a stand on this and make sure you know who you vote for next time. And certainly never vote for the Greens. The hateful.
You tell them, Pauline. Couldn't have said it. She should be PM at the moment. She's much better than what's in there. Very passionate about this country, and I believe if she got in, I think she'll do a lot of things that would be very beneficial. You can call her racist, call whatever you want. I think she's an Aussie gem. That's my opinion of it. I've done a complete 180 on Pauline over the last few years. You guys, do you see other politicians getting this worked up about preserving our country, about doing the right thing by Australian people? You don't. This is good. There's not this passion there. Gonna leave it there, guys. Had a bit of a rant today. Went a bit longer than what I thought I would, but definitely a good conversation. Put in the comments how you're feeling about everything. What do you think about what I was talking about? Am I on the money? Am I a racist? Am I a bogan? I get called it every day, so keen to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks all. See you in the next one.